Hey everyone, good to see you again. It's Richard at BTFI. Welcome. So it seemed very timely that our dear friend Christoph and his beautiful family happened to be staying with us this week. Now,
beautiful hosts as well, by the way.
Well,
if you ever fancy a bed and breakfast in London, I can highly recommend it. Lovely breakfast and dinners and all of that. So thank you.
Well, we do our best. You're very welcome. Yeah. Anyone wants to come and stay, that's no problem. Just let us know that you're coming. Don't just rock up unannounced. Kelly has known Christoph much longer than I have, and I got to meet you in 2016, some point in 2016, and I said to Kelly, do you know what? I know the ideal person to marry us in Mallorca in 2017 would be Christoph. So we asked Christoph if he would bless our wedding and bless our marriage, and he agreed. So Christoph and again his beautiful family came out to Mallorca, and Christoph ran the most beautiful, moving, captivating ceremony ever. If there was one day in my life in 45 years I could relive, it would be August the 5th, 2017, and a huge amount of that is thanks to you, and of course thanks to Kelly. Yeah. All right, it would have been a bit rubbish if it was just me, and odd, but thanks to Christoph for creating this beautiful frame around what we had. And Christoph, I know, will have a very different take and spin on consciousness, living consciously, how in organizations we need to step up and move and wrestle and grapple differently with all that's happening around us. So most of you are going, God, just the bloke in the black t-shirt, stop talking, let's hear from Christoph, that's why we've rocked up. So it would be great to hear, before I kind of pound you with a couple of questions and thoughts, to hear a bit about you and why you do what you do and how you happen to be sat here and all of that stuff.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, I guess how I'm flowing into the world is supporting people into their, I guess, higher evolutionary consciousness, to realize themselves as more of a totality of consciousness, not just a physical vessel. And I've come into this path through not quite a circuitous route. I've always been in the assisting arts, the helping arts, starting first with physical vessels, I used to be a trainer and a physical therapist for many years, and what I noticed was that why is it that some people change and other people don't? I mean, I used to write the most beautiful plans, for say 2 different people, and the plan was perfect. But, one person would go and complete that, plan that would recondition and re-synthesize their physical vessel, and another person wouldn't. And I was always fascinated with what's under the engine that makes people tick. Why do some people change? Why do some people don't? And that led me further down the rabbit hole. I was exploring all sorts of things like nutrition, but a little bit of first NLP, and then driving into emotions, and then looking deeper into the psychology of change. And then I came across the energetics of change. And I really dived deeply into that topic, and I actually ended up studying with a remarkable woman, an ex-NASA scientist, for 4 years. She was an atmospheric physicist in the 60s, working the rocket calculations to put the men on the moon. And I studied for 4 years with this incredible woman, Dr. Barbara Brennan, and she really brought through a whole template of understanding around energetics and the psychodynamics of what's going on in someone's bioenergy field. And when I came out of that, I was very drawn to move into the shamanic healing arts, and I was drawn to work with various indigenous groups, from the Bwiti traditions in Africa to the Shipibo traditions in South America, working with various ethnogens and plants that would expand consciousness and allow people to dive deeper into themselves. And I very much walked that shamanic path for many years, and that's been an evolution to where I am now, holding kind of more, as you've experienced, that priest energy for ceremonies and initiations in that realm. And through all of that, what I've come to understand deeply is the science and the understanding and the spirituality of what actually makes people change and what actually makes people achieve. Some people achieve their ideals and intentions and their purpose, and what makes some people, fall from the wayside. And so this has been a beautiful unfolding, really through the lens of my own experience, where my life looks completely different now to how it was when I was very much locked in a three-dimensional experience, thinking that, it was my physical vessel and my mind, and that was about it. And so my own, I guess, experiential stream of life has allowed me to experience life with more love, more flow, less attachment, and all these beautiful things allowed me to attract a beloved when I maybe didn't have the type of behaviors or self-esteem that would allow me to attract a family. And then now living a life, on purpose and in flow. And we've just recently sold all our possessions, got rid of our home in Ibiza, and we now find ourselves and my small 2 children, Noah and Aurora. Noah's 2 and Aurora is about 10 months, and we're just freestyling it around the planet now and just seeing where the call of spirit takes us and living in the moment as sort of, I guess, international family, just seeing where the flow takes us. And so that's kind of a little summary, I guess, of that's been my journey. What's brought me here to you guys is your beautiful hospitality and, of course, the wonderful vegan curry that I had tonight. So that was a treat. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome. Our first foray into vegan cooking ever. So I'm glad that you're still here and you still look quite well as a result of it.
Absolutely.
So let's pick up. I want to pick up that thread around. So what is it that differentiates those that take action? Because I see it day to day in organisations. I see it with leaders. Some that are so lent in and are taking action and eager and courageous and brave, and they push through, and others that almost to the very bitter end will resist it and push back. And of course, there's a ton of reasons for why we get both of those. I want to come back to that. I would love to pick up on this piece about the world is an odd place right now, okay? Whatever descriptive word we use for it, feels different. It feels strange. We've got presidents around the world that really we would never expect to be a president. We've got world leaders that are kind of toying around with my button's bigger than your button, and we've got more environmental disasters and things happening around us than ever before. In one sentence, why is that? You can have 2 sentences.
2 sentences.
So come on, what's that about? How do we make some sense of really what's going on?
So from a higher perspective, because I'm always looking at things from a higher perspective, is that the energy that is coming into our planet is much faster than before. And that is creating, through one of the laws of our universe called harmonic induction, the dredging up of lower frequency energy, lower distorted emotions, ideas, imprints, anything that would trigger us is coming to the surface. And so if we take a look now at the macro of that, say that's happening to us micro, in the microscope of things are coming up for clearing. Well, in the macro, what's coming up from our deep subconscious and unconscious are all these things to be ready to let go of. And so the presidents of the world that are triggering us are simply reflections of the macro subconscious schemism in society that's coming up now to directly mirror back to us what's actually happening. And sometimes it's not so pretty when we begin to dredge through our shadows. And so some of those shadow states are simply coming up for clearing, both in the individual consciousness and the collective consciousness. So it's going to get bumpy, it's going to get sticky, but
more bumpy.
Well, the only thing that we haven't even hit economic difficulty yet. And then when the crash comes, and there is going to be an economic crash at some point, because you can't keep printing money with no backing, there's going to be a day of reckoning at some point, then we'll start to see a little bit more bumpiness than what we do now. For now, when everyone's got jobs and money, it's a little bit easier to survive, because people are identifying with the external. And the only way to navigate all this energy is to stabilize the internal energy, stabilize thoughts and balance emotions, because no matter what chaos is around you, you can be like the center of a hurricane, completely still no matter what's going on around you, because you'll stabilize the thoughts and balance the emotions, work through the wounds and the shadows that would bring things up to the surface. And that's how you can be calm in the storm, and that's how you can perform in the storm, that's how you can navigate life. Because when you understand everything is simply energy, it's all about managing your vibration. And then you begin to master of your destiny by managing your magnetism. And what happens is something so magical, is that you stop chasing life and you start attracting it. And you operate more slowly, but life comes at you faster.
So for So I get the bit about the stabilizing self and stabilizing thoughts and stabilizing emotions. And for people that are watching that maybe just set up their own business, I know we've got a lot of people in the group that are entrepreneurs. Some people just a little bit further down the road with their own business. Others are part of kind of giant corporations. Some of them are going to be scratching their head, going, oh, "What does that mean for me? What is waiting for it to happen, and what does that mean for me day to day? How does that change my practice?"
So let's talk about one of our topics then around apply what you've said to this through the lens of what everyone does at New Year's resolutions, which I'm not a fan of, by the way. It's just called New Year's evolution, because we should be looking to evolve ourselves. But let's talk about how do we magnetize 2018 to be our best year yet. So how does that happen, and what is the physics and the science of that, so that we can better ourselves, better our family, better our business and whatever organisation we're a part of. Because there's two things we need to consider. There's the energetic dynamics of an organisation, and there's the energetic dynamics of the individual. Now, if you're a business owner or you're a leader at a larger organisation, that energy of the organisation is based around your morphogenetic field. And if you're not sure what a morphogenetic field means, it's much like a auric field that contains all your beliefs, all your thoughts, all your feelings, all your life scripts, all your woundings, all your shadows, all the egoic defences, the whole thing. So in this way, it's something I love to say is that people don't have business problems. They have personal and life problems that are simply reflected in their business. Because when you're looking to manage an energy field such as an organisation, even if it's an organisation of two people or one person, it's still a field of energy that's creating a resonance or has a particular vibration. And many of you will be aware of that particular law of vibration, which brings that which is liked attracted upon itself. So here's how you create what you want for either yourself, your family, or your business in 2018 and for all of time, is that you don't set goals for the first thing. Because when you set a very specific goal, and this is probably counterintuitive to many people out there in the PD world who are bringing this through, but set intentions. Because when you set a goal, what your concentration does, what your thought process does, is it sets an end point. And doing that end point, what it does something in physics, in quantum science, called collapsing the wave function. And that's just a tricky term, a technical term, meaning that all other potentials drop away and you're only left with one potential. And that's only the potential that a human mind can think of, and takes away from us the co-creational aspects of the power of the universe, of spirit, of source consciousness, of God, whatever it is you label, that energy that sits, that intelligence that sits between you and I at home. So the first thing is to get really clear on is your intention. What is my conscious, clear intent? And just take a moment to tune into that right now. And really bring that into your field. And what I want you to do is just ground it into the earth, because the earth is what gives it life. And we talk about in work what I do with people called Hara. And Hara is a dimension deeper than the physical body and the auric field. It's really that field of intention. Everything particulates around intention. I mean, you at home have probably had the experience where you've been in a relationship or a job and you actually intended to leave, but you're still in it. And what that does is create split intention, where your heart's not really in the relationship or the job or whatever we're talking about, but your intention is to leave. And eventually, it always catches up with you, that intent, because energy follows intent. And so your subconscious behaviors might start doing certain things that create the break. Or suddenly something will happen and it creates a forced awareness. So we need to make sure that we're not split in any way, there are no hidden pockets, and we're really strong and clear in that intent. And it helps to really state it out loud and to write it down and to bring that into your awareness. And holding an intention, then you let go of the outcome. Because by setting an outcome, you're actually limiting it in the co-creation with spirit. And so by letting it go, you then just come into your heart space and build that heart frequency every day, because it's all about building a coherent resonance. Which, what I mean by coherence, well, coherence is a term from music, meaning a like vibration, a harmonic coherence allows an attractive field. For example, in a symphony orchestra, it's very coherent. The sounds particulate off beautifully well and they just dance around. But as soon as someone hits a wrong note, you can really hear any sort of discordance happen. And this is what discordance is. It creates discoherence. Your heart stops radiating this beautiful electromagnetic field. And the more that you live in your heart space, the bigger the amplification of the field, the bigger the magnetics. So by coming into stillness and holding intention, amplifying a big auric, your big field of love, which creates the magnetics, what happens is that vibration starts through the law of attraction, sending, and by attractive fields, the relevant person, place, timeline, or event that creates the intent into magnificence, into physical reality happening, manifest. And so what our path is in 2018, for a start, is to set very clear intentions, to live in this heart space, open up the heart field, and to observe life and watch for the synchronicities. And the synchronicities are those intersecting points where, there's a synchronicity happened, and suddenly you meet the right person. And then if you get movement on that synchronicity, well, you start moving in that direction. Now, this works on an individual level and an organizational level, but as you start dealing with more people, the group field becomes more and more important. And this is why, as a leader, you start to develop the culture. And the culture is built around the intent, which is built around values. And those values form almost the DNA, if you like, of that organizational blueprint. And the culture is the way we get into it. And in organizations, the highest form of productivity isn't time management or attention management, it's energy management. And that's all around making sure people are leveraged, making sure they're aligned, and making sure that they are really connected to a purpose, so that they've got their eyes light up and they're doing the right things. And when you've got those engagements where the right person's sitting on the right seat of the bus, the energetics are feeling expansive, you're coming together with a shared cohesive intent, well, absolutely, there's nothing that you cannot achieve when you've got the right people doing the right 3D tasks to make things happen. So, really, it's about summarizing this quickly. It's all around setting intentions, being in the heart space, creating a coherent field, and creating pragmatic action steps for teams of people to build themselves around based upon values and the culture of how you want to get into it. And if you focus on those things, just even for a few days at the start of this year, you're going to be quite surprised, because that is the energetic building blocks of physical matter. And when you start to work on the higher realms of the energetics, then you'll be surprised at how fast life comes at you. Yeah, there's a little bit of combination of what's going on in quantum physics, and bringing through, the most important thing for anyone this year, right now in particular, is to connect with your purpose. A purpose that is greater than you, so that you can find your sweet spot in life. And that sweet spot is this combination where your purpose and your profession and your passions come together. All collide. And that's that sweet spot you find yourself in. And this is a spot that no one can compete you with. No one can compete with you, because you're so, you're such a unique being of divine potential that when you find that particular note of your particular song, of your particular skill, your gift, linked to a purpose which is the big why, well then, magic happens and the magic unlocks. And the closer you walk to that path, the easier, more in flow life becomes. The further away you walk from your spiritual purpose, the more challenging and tricky and full of obstacles life becomes.
So Christoph, how do we help people? So there are some that are down one end of the continuum that are much more, are spending much more of their time in flow, and are closer to being able to almost take what you're talking about and go, okay, that resonates, and this is what that means to me. We've got others at the other end of the continuum who have a very noisy life, a noisy head. We talked a bit about, you and I have talked a bit about some of the Barrett work, the 7 levels of consciousness, and those lower 3 levels around the limiting values, potentially limiting values, where people tend to get stuck. They're in this place of lack of, operating from fear. How do we help them just nudge that bit further along the continuum to be able to even more receptive and accessible to what you've just talked about?
Okay, well, most likely people won't love what I'm about to say. but I'm going to say it anyway because everyone wants a quick fix. Okay, but it's less and less about technique or strategy. That's less and less about what's really important at the fundamental level of taking your life to the next octave. What it really is about is, say for example, you've got your purpose down pat, but you're really in a position where you're not playing at the level that you really want, and you're not quite aligned to doing what you want to be doing, turning up into the world. Now, there's most likely a number of people on the call who are in that space. You know the direction you want to go, but you're not yet at that level. Okay, so we have to. The only way that lasting change will take you and elevate you up to a higher level of influence and impact is by working on your consciousness. And what I mean by that is that those of you, I'll just do a little sharing about how your energy field runs, is that you have 3 energy centers, the lower 3. Some of you may know the term chakras. Basically, they are energetic wheels. And the energy in the 0 point field, the space between you and I at home, is filled teeming with fast-moving energy. This moves through our energy centers and up through our energy current. Sometimes it flows smoothly, sometimes it's blocked and stagnant. Sometimes there are wounds held in each one. Now, the lower 3 energy centers are really linked to the lower egoic patterns that we get conditioned into at home. We're brought up into a family that has no doubt probably issues because of where humanity's at, where we don't feel safe growing up. It's all about the safety and survival, the first energy center, and this is the system in which we're born into. Is literally creates a consciousness of separation from the moment we cut the umbilical cord. Immediately, the baby who has been energetically and physically connected to their twin in the placenta and the fetus gets cut, and so immediately we feel abandoned. And older like we probably got separated from our mothers for a period of time and slept in our own cot. So immediately we have this fear of safety and abandonment, and as we come up into the second energy center, it's all around relationships, and quite often relationships at home and the family unit are quite conflicting. There's arguments, there's all sorts of chaos going on, and we get wounding patterns happening in here, and then as we go on, we don't get the reassurance and the building of self-esteem from our parents that we're used to. So we end up with these egoic deficiencies of safety and survival. And these days it's all about really feeling safe in the unknown, which is usually linked to money. Because really survival these days is linked to money. So if I leave my current job and I go and take this risk over here, I don't feel safe. I'm not going to be safe. I'm not going to be safe. No, I'm not going to be safe at all. I'm going to stay. I'd rather stay where I am and unpleasantly unhappy rather than to feel that fear and take that risk into an unknown journey. And what we need to do, and this goes for any plan of action where you're feeling resistance going into that's following your heart. Your heart knows the direction, and then sometimes this anxiety comes. You go, oh God, I don't want to go in that direction. What's this about? Well, it's these egoic deficiencies around safety and survival, not feeling safe in the unknown. Because when you know you're truly at one with God, you're at one with Source, at one with this consciousness that's all around, there's no separation, you fully can step into the unknown because you know that each step you'll be held. And this is what separates people who take it to the next level compared to those who don't. They've resolved these emotional deficiencies around safety and survival and will take more risks. So it's nothing to do with strategy so much, because an intelligent person, and everyone on your list is intelligent. The intelligence isn't the issue. It's the underlying energetic woundings, patterns that shape and create behaviour. And so they freeze rather than flow, because I'm scared to live in the unknown. And then the second piece is around the second energy center, which is all around this relationship, scared to develop fully meaningful bonding relationships because this never happened at home. I don't even know what that is. And then self-esteem, where you live your life managing yourself through the opinions of others. I can't do this because I need this person to like me, because we never got that from our parents. So if you've got any of these woundings playing out in these lower 3 energy centers, and you're trying to follow your heart and in a direction of purpose, well, you haven't got the foundations built to really follow through on your dreams, because you've got all this wounding patterns where these egoic defenses and projections and all sorts of stories come blurring out of you anytime a ripple happens in the field. And the path to move through to your highest potential is to move through those woundings and patterns and live in the heart space and the higher energy centers, which is all about connection, relationships, linking your personal will to divine will in terms of the fifth energy center, and developing that kind of vision of co-creative mind. And when you start operating from those spiritual templates, you start to move in the direction of your soul needs. And this is the great conflict that I see most people happening as they go out into the world. This fight and this balance between the egoic deficiencies, playing a larger role in their life than not allowing them to follow their soul needs. And as you evolve in your consciousness and grow, and what I know is happening for many people on the planet at this time, because the energy and consciousness is much, much faster, much more expanded, it's becoming more and more intolerable to not follow our soul purpose, not to follow our soul needs. And this is bringing things up to the surface for clearing, why things are getting bumpy, both in the micro world and the macro world. So in answer to your question, how they make this year a bigger year is to do the inner work, to find someone who has the energetic intelligence or the therapeutic skill set to be able to clear these emotional discordances and issues in the lower three energy centers, so you're free to follow your heartstream. And that way you're intelligent, you're smart, you'll work out the tactics of what to do, but until the subconscious and unconscious programming is cleared up, you're always going to be fighting against yourself.
Wow. So in an organisation where we say, actually this is still about the individual, and we touched earlier on this whole notion of role modelling, what an executive team, I see this a lot, where an executive team, you look at it and you look at them and you see how they show up each day, and actually it's in massive misalignment and conflict to all that they are saying that they want. So where does the energy and focus need to be in a bigger organisation for starting to get that alignment?
Starts with leadership. So, the leaders have to be prepared to do the inner work, because there's no point saying one thing and doing the other, because all role modelling happens on action. So it's really taking an identification of a culture and exploring what's the culture we've created, because leaders create the culture. And they don't do as you say, they do as you do. So it's all about, if you find yourself in a leadership position and you're not happy with the performance of a team or the organisation, there's nowhere else to look other than the mirror and saying, how am I turning up into the world? Am I operating from these lower energy centers? Because the challenge society has faced is that corporations have become hierarchical, pyramidal structures around domination and control and competition. And the consciousness now that's coming through is around unification. It's around unconditional love. It's around cooperation. And these are the very matching principles that whole entire universe is built upon. Not competition. It's actually cooperation. So this whole model where executives within an organisation are competing each other for bonuses and salary positions all comes from this place of egoic deficiency. I need more money to make me feel better, rather than feeling better internally within myself, or I need to get my promotion so my ego feels more powerful, rather than having this internal current from happening. And so quite often in organisations we have these wrestling matches with executives playing out more through egoic deficiencies than heartfelt, heart-centred leadership.
So for the organisations that are not prepared to upgrade and evolve and move with that, what happens? They collapse?
Well, what happens is that they don't run. It's kind of like, driving a car where it's firing on two cylinders. They don't actually realise they're firing on two cylinders because they're never actually running in an 8-cylinder car. They don't even realise they are like spluttering. It's just is what it is. It's so discordant. But when you come into a highly coherent field of energy and you realise the speed of which that can move, there's such a big upside to moving in this direction, coming together with coherence. It makes such a massive, massive difference, because what we're talking about here is energetic architecture. Because the physical reality is built on the energetics. If the energetics are discordant with energy moving all over like this, well, we're going to get chaos, we're going to get miscommunication, and we're going to get all these repercussions based around that, which is going to lead to a poor performance. If you're highly coherent based around values, you're going to have clear communication, you're going to have streamlined systems, and you're going to have a field of energy which is going to be a highly magnetic attractive field for your particular audience. So there's big advantages to doing the energetic work. However, the challenge is that most leaders don't understand the energetics, the psychological energetics and the energetics of manifestation enough to apply it and to realise it's important in life, because they're still caught up seeing themselves as separate from everything else. So.
Wow, I'm not even going to think about taking questions because I can't even read them on the screen from here, so I think it's fairly pointless. If you want to ask questions, make comments, please pop them in the comment box, and one of us will have a response for you, whether it's Christoph will pick it up, or Kelly, or myself will pick it up.
I'll take a look tomorrow for questions that come in.
That will be great. I know you're on your travels tomorrow to Estonia, so if you happen to find a moment to check in, and we'll also put your link up there, because people, I'm sure, will want to go and check out some more of your stuff.
Cool.
And there's a ton of stuff you've got out there, right?
Yeah, there's a number of things. It's always beautiful sharing, and it's always good coming up with across new models, new ways of thinking for people, so that you can examine your beliefs and your model, and then you can compare them to other ways of being, and then you do this contrast where, okay, what pieces can I take? And so if we were to put this into a daily habit type thing, how would that look? Well, just imagine if you started your day and you started your day by really first up connecting deeply with your intention and coming into Hara. Now, what I want to do is I want to show you a difference in energetic state.
Yes,
to the audience. Okay?
Can I do this with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into Hara. And I'm really communicating from the state of Hara now, which is very centered, very grounded, and very present. Now, if I come out of Hara and I speak more from my auric field, and I'm more in my field of energy here, do you notice a difference? Big difference, right? So most people are living here, not here. And so when you're grounded and you're in Hara, all the magnetics are built off that. But most people are floating around their day, and now I've shifted back to aura. Can you feel the difference?
Yeah, big time.
Now I go back to Hara. Okay, now I'm in Hara again. You can feel the shift again. So this state of Hara, and you can just do it by just putting one hand here, one hand down, and just imagining light coming straight through your system like a pillar of light. Ground your energy like that. Now, in that space, hold an intent for your coming year. I'm holding my intent now. Send it all the way down to the earth from that state of Hara. Now bring it up to your heart space. Come into your heart. Now you're going to hold Hara and be in the aura at the same time. Be grateful. The gratitude creates the gateway of allowing. So grateful for this intention already manifested in my life. And send this intent in through your heart field out into the world around you. And know that this is already done, because time is not linear. And just imagine starting your day by setting up your energetics like that. It is commanded that through my conscious intent I magnetize to me the relevant people, person, timeline, event, synchronicity to align with my purpose here in the unfolding of the divine plan. It is done. And command it into being. And move through your day in the heart field, in Hara, observing what comes towards you, so that you start attracting life rather than chasing it. And if that's all you did as a daily habit, I absolutely guarantee your whole year in 1 year would be completely different than it was a year before. And that is one simple thing that you can do, even if it's just for 5 to 10 minutes in the morning, 5 to 10 minutes at night. It would change the whole game.
I'm going to check in with you guys next week.
Check it out.
I'm going to see how many of you folks have done that. And I think that there's so much, isn't there, with building in habits, building in our success habits and our rituals, about the discipline to do it.
Yeah, and it has to be discipline. I got this from Vishen at Mind Valley when I went to his A-Fest, was that, you got to love what you're doing. Mm-hmm. So it's discipline. It's being in bliss, when you do it. And it's the building blocks, and I love the term ritual, which you used. Because a ritual is a highly, special, ceremonial, sacred type experience. It's not a habit. It's deeper than a habit. It's a ritual. and you get into that ritual, you get into the groove, because it's all about building the energetics, and then from those energetics birthing new neural nets and new grooves in the way that your perceptions and beliefs are filtering out the information that's all around us anyway, and creating that on a daily basis. And nothing's going to change if nothing happens. So you have to make something happen, and this is where your discipline comes in. And 3 things that you need for success. Okay, 1, direction, clear, direct with your conscious intent. 2, focus. Okay, stay focused on that direction, because a lot of people get distracted these days. I mean, we've got cell phones and data deluge. People are wired up, but they're melting down really. So staying focused on that, not being distracted. And then last one is that discipline and dedication. That's the engine. This like that. One of the most spiritual animals in the spiritual realms is the tortoise. Tortoise is moving slowly. It's a very mystical creature, the tortoise. It moves around slowly and steady with its home on its back, just 1 foot in front of the other, and always makes it to the destination. But just 1 foot steadily at a time.
Very intentional.
Exactly. Boom. Very intentional. Boom. Boom. But it's that discipline and that dedication that is the driving force behind the direction and the focus.
Massively grateful. Thank you,
brother.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for inviting me on your show. Sorry I stole the talking microphone a bit longer.
No, it's great. They've had enough of listening to me. So to hear you and how you frame it, and the living it as you talk it through is the bit that just resonates so strongly. So
beautiful.
I'm very grateful. Send some love, please, to Christoph. Go and check out all of his other thinkings and ideas. We will pop his link there. Put questions in. If you're not watching this live, you're watching it on repeat, you can still put questions and we will pick them up.